I wanted to do a quick video on this, and I'm using this under the Fair Use Act to show who the true prophet of God is and show who the false Trump prophets are. Unequivocally show. So this was a video I did on my other channel, October the 13th of 2021, in regards to both Timothy Dixon and Robin Bullock, and it had to do with the great wealth transfer prophecy. And I was standing and prophesying against these two because they were teaching unbiblical things about the wealth transfer. There's nothing biblical about the great wealth transfer in Scripture. I want to point that out first and foremost. The problem behind this is how they peddle their messages and get their followers to send them money. They tell their followers, you have to sow into my ministry in order to receive the great wealth transfer. So what I did is just like in times of old, and for one example, you can read Ezekiel chapter 13, beginning at 1, where God tells his true prophet to stand and prophesy against the false prophets. And that's what I did, exactly what I did in this series of 3 videos. I stood and said the great wealth transfer would occur from Timothy Dixon and Robin's pocket to other ministries and other people's pockets. So again, this is one video, October the 13th, 2021. The Great Wealth Transfer, October the 13th, 2021. That's second in the series. And then there was this one. Another one, October the 14th, 2021, the Great Wealth Transfer from false prophets to the true churches. That was in that series, and we're going to see what is now unfolding. We're going to see who the true prophet of God is, because this was my prophecy about the Great Wealth Transfer, the prophecy where I explained that these false Trump prophets would be sued for their fraudulent behavior, for their false prophet ministries. They would be sued, and the monies would end up going to the true church. It would go from the false prophets like Robin Bullock and Timothy Dixon and these others, and it would ultimately be used for good. So let's see what has just unfolded just yesterday. What's all coming out? Alabama state investigation, November the 17th. It began last year, November the 17th. October the 14th. Just a month before the investigation began against Robin Bullock for fraud. Exactly what my prophecy was. Exactly what my prophecy was. Now, incredibly enough, there are Alabama major news outlets covering this.
International was there, and because of his prophecies surrounding the election, the church went viral on social media overnight. Suddenly, they had a much bigger outreach, more church members, and more money. But now...
That happened September the 27th, yesterday, on Alabama News Network, major news network. Let's continue to listen to what's occurring.
The church is rapidly expanding. Some folks are really worried about their intentions. Robin Bullock is a man who leads Church International in Warrior, Alabama, along with his wife, the head pastor. Alleged homosexual armies.
You send your hordes of homosexual armies.
Right now, the state of Alabama is investigating the church's nonprofit and Robin D. Bullock over how they're spending their money and their lack of filing financial documents.
So now they're being investigated by the state of Alabama, the IRS, because what they're doing is taking nonprofit monies that they're bringing in and purchasing profitable businesses with said money, which is illegal. Ladies and gentlemen, that is absolutely illegal, and we're going to continue to learn that.
Spending their money and their lack of filing financial documents. So far, what we know is that the church's nonprofit has bought about 20 parcels in Warrior since early 2021. In the last 2.5 years, the church has spent $6 million on all of these properties in Warrior, plus another $2 million on a house in Trafford. One of those big purchases was earlier this year, a furniture store for $4 million. Another was the Bullock's $400,000 house. That's a lot of money for a town of this size. What's interesting is that the church hasn't shared any of its tax returns for at least 5 years that would document these purchases. So far, because the church won't.
So once again, I'll point out, with non-profitable monies, you cannot go out and purchase businesses, profitable businesses, and that is exactly what they've done. They've taken in all these non-profitable charity monies and actually added to their wealth, because they've now purchased businesses, profitable businesses with that, and because they knew it was illegal, they failed to file any tax return items on this, because they've purchased furniture stores and many, like she said, over 20 parcels of land. They've purchased rental properties, housing. He literally has a business now. He has a business that he bought with charitable. Instead of feeding the poor, feeding the hungry, and helping the poor and the hungry and the needy, he has only continued to enrich himself by purchasing businesses that give him profit, even more profit. And as you've seen, he purchased himself, just in the last few years, he purchased a $2 million home and a $400,000 home. What's funny, he purchased the big $2 million home outside of the community that he actually operates his church in. He only bought the little $4 million castle in that community, but then he went and bought a $2 million home for himself in another community. Understand that, because again, these people don't want you to know they're living lavish on their followers' dollars. But now it's all starting to come out, because they have, in fact, conducted illegal activities by using non-profit monies to purchase profitable business endeavors. It's all coming out just as my prophecy unfolded, said it would happen, ladies and gentlemen. And that's what happens when you stand against the true prophet of God. But what he still fails to realize is a lot of this money he had helped enrich himself with, he did so by stealing prophecies from me. So not only does the IRS in the state of Alabama and them get their little piece of the action, he's going to have to come off of it for me as well. All these false prophets that don't seem to realize it's what they did was stole from my ministry to enrich themselves. And again, what Scripture says, that when a thief is caught, he must pay back 7 times what he has stolen, even if it means selling his house and all the contents within it. Robin Bullock, that $2.5 million house purchase you made might cost you a lot more than what you paid. Remember what Scripture says, 7 times, even if it means selling your house and everything in it. Know that the word of truth, God is truth. So now not only does he owe me, he owes the IRS, state of Alabama, Warrior, Alabama, the township itself is even coming after him. Even they're coming after him, and this was the major news outlet in Alabama that is exposing him, ladies and gentlemen. I've reached out to these 2 young ladies that have done this interview, and I've offered to do an interview with them. That was just yesterday evening, so I'll be waiting to hear back if they're interested in doing an interview with me in regards to these things, in regards to the fact that Robin Bullock lied to enrich himself, but then also was stealing prophecies from me, prophetic knowledge from my books, to further enrich himself. It's all being exposed, ladies and gentlemen, just as I said it would. Just as I prophesied it would, and that goes to show who the true prophet of God is. Just like when they said, when they prophesied Trump's return to the White House, and I stood and prophesied against them, this is just yet another proof that they are not prophets of God, because it is my prophecies that come to pass and their prophecies that fail. Know that every time I can prove it unequivocally that my prophecies come to pass and all of theirs fail. That's how you know who God is standing with in these days. God bless.